Hey, John Houston. It's me, Michelle, and I wanted to read you my favorite book, and my class wants to say good morning, boys and girls. Can you say hi to John Houston?
Hi!
So, John Houston, this book is called Fancy Nancy. Now, I love Fancy Nancy because she says so many fancy things, doesn't she, boys and girls?
Yes.
And she loves things to be
says,
fancy.
Ooh la la.
She does say ooh la la. Are you ready to hear this story?
Yes.
Okay. Here's the first page. This says, "This is my room before I made it fancy." Is this fancy?
Yes.
Not so much. Wait until you see what she does. Whoa.
Ooh la la.
That is very fancy. She says, "I love being fancy."
That's it, Nancy.
My favorite color is fuchsia. That's a fancy way of saying purple. I like to write my name with a pen that has a plume. That's a fancy way of saying feather. And I can't wait to learn French because everything in French sounds fancy, right, boys and girls?
Yeah.
Nobody in my family is fancy at all. They never even ask for sprinkles. Do you guys like sprinkles?
Yeah.
There's a lot they don't understand. Lace trim socks really do help me play soccer better. Sandwiches definitely taste better when you stick a frilly toothpick in them. A princess is supposed to keep her tiara on. What's a fancy girl to do? I asked my doll Maribel. Her full name is Maribel Lavinia Chandler. Doesn't that sound fancy? Then I get an idea that is stupendous. That's fancy for great. Maybe I can teach my family how to be fancy. I make an ad and stick it on the fridge. Do you want to hear what her ad says? It says, "Learn to be fancy with lessons from Nancy. Start today. Easy, fun, free." Does that sound like something that would be fun?
No.
So, there's a knock at my door. My family saw the ad and they want to get started right away. Look, she's made a chart of things that are plain and things that are fancy. She says yellow is plain and gold is fancy. Leather is plain. Patent leather is fancy. Glasses are plain. Sunglasses are fancy. The trouble is my family doesn't own any fancy clothes. But that's okay. I go find, what's the fancy word? Oh, yes, accessories.
What are accessories?
Accessories are like necklaces and watches and fun boas and all kinds of beads and sparkles, everything.
Like your owl.
Yeah, like my owl is an accessory. That's right, this watch. That's fancy too, isn't it?
Whoa.
Yeah,
I really like it.
I like that too.
I wish I could know that thing.
Now, ooh la la, my family is posh. That's a fancy word for fancy. My mom twirls in front of the mirror. Why don't we go somewhere fancy tonight? How about dinner at the King's Crown, my dad suggests. Wow, my parents are acting fancier already. May I escort you lovely ladies outside? The limousine is waiting. My dad is our chauffeur. That's a fancy way to say driver.
I see a bunny in there.
Do you see a bunny? Where do you see a bunny?
In the hat.
Oh, in the hat. That's pretty funny, isn't it, boys and girls?
He's a magician.
When we arrive at the King's Crown, everyone looks up. They probably think we're movie stars. So fancy. I'm so proud of my whole family. They eat with their pinkies up, and they call each other darling. Isn't that funny, boys and girls?
Darling.
Yes. And they have some yummy pizza.
I love pizza.
For dessert, let's have parfait, my mom says. That is French for ice cream sundaes. Amazing! My mother knows French. When our parfaits are ready, I curtsy and say, merci. I carry the trays like a fancy waiter. And oops, I trip and I slip, and the tray does a double flip. Oh, man.
I bet she doesn't feel so happy.
I don't know. Let's turn the page and see what happens. Poor Fancy Nancy. You remember, don't you? It says, I don't feel fancy anymore. I I just want to go home. After I get all cleaned up, I put on my dressing gown. That's fancy for a bathrobe. I feel much better, and I eat a parfait. I tell my parents, thank you for being fancy tonight. I love you, my dad says. I love you, my mom says. And all I say back is, I love you. Because there isn't a fancy or better way of saying that. Boys and girls, thank you so much for helping me read this book for John Houston. Can you say goodbye?
Goodbye.